Massive Flames trade incoming? Where is Chris Tanev going? Welcome to Flames Digest. I'm Mark Griffith, and if you're a Flames fan and you like what you see, and you want to be updated on all the Flames' latest news and rumors, then make sure you subscribe. Now, let's get into the main purpose of today's video. Let's talk about the man himself. It's time for some Tanev talk. Let's talk some Chris Tanev. Now, this guy, other than being the one-tooth wonder, of course, and his rugged good looks, he's wanted for a lot of other reasons. He's a hot commodity surrounding this year's trade deadline, which is just over a month away now, and a lot of contenders, I believe, would want his type of game. His name has been swirling around the media and all the trade rumors, and what isn't there to like about this guy? He plays a very, very strong, safe game. He's so smart with the puck. And look, he's a shutdown defenseman, which a lot of teams do need. They really need that. I think every single team that has won the cup, made the cup final, in pretty much the NHL's history, before it was the NHL, has proven. You need guys who can shut down the other team's top weapons. Tanev is one of those guys, and he doesn't do it in the most traditional way. He doesn't throw the body around too much. I think he has less than 20 total hits this season, which is just a remarkable stat. But he does it in other ways. He doesn't always need to throw the body around. He throws it in front of pucks. He blocks a ton of shots, which is what you want. But the only downside to that is there is a risk of injury, which has happened in the past, which might make teams a little skeptical. But really, come on. If he's throwing the body around in front of pucks, and another thing I really want to highlight is that this guy just doesn't turn the puck over. He doesn't give it away. In the neutral zone this season, he is top 1. Not top 10, top 1 when it comes to giveaways. He doesn't give the puck away there. In the defensive end, where it really matters for his type of defenseman, he's top 20. He doesn't like giving the puck up there either, and he really makes sure that he does not try to. Another thing that's really great about him is that he is perfect at just rotating the puck, cycling the puck, getting it back, and making sure it gets out of the zone. He is so good at that. I think every single D-man he's played with in his career really appreciates that. And on that note, another thing I'd really like to highlight about Tanev and his game is the versatility of who you can put him with. Let's take a look at how the Flames have used him so far this season. These are his D pairings through the first half of the season, and a bit of the third quarter has already started. But look at that. He's already had 3 different line mates when it comes to the third quarter. And so far this year, I think he's proven, put him with anyone and he'll be effective. He's played with everyone, really. Obviously, Hanifin is his top guy. That's who he prefers to play with the most, I would assume. Gilbert's in there. Solovyov's in there. Shillington is newly back in the lineup, and he's finally playing with Weegar a bit. So I think this just really proves that he is the man. Put him with anyone. He'll be more of a stay-at-home defenseman. He does not put up big offensive numbers. So if you're a contender looking for an offensive defenseman, this isn't the guy for you. But if you want a guy who can help you win, my goodness, is this ever the guy for you. But I think that graphic there just shows, you know what? Put him with anyone on any team. I'm talking here now, not just the Flames, but any team, and he'll be very good. Obviously, as a Flames fan, I'd love to keep him. I'd love to contend. It's the ideal scenario, but that's just not how it works in the NHL. It's such a business. You always want to get the most for what you can give, and the Flames just can give right now, especially with Tanev. So let's take a look at some of the destinations. We need to know where he's going for some of this. So potential destinations. Who are the best suitors for Chris Tanev? Now, obviously, ideally for the Flames, since we're in the Western Conference, of course, we would like to find a suitor in the East. And good news is there's a lot of potential destinations over in the East. Let's take a little look at the standings in the Eastern Conference. Now, I've highlighted 6 teams there that could be potential trade destinations. Let's take a look at the top there. The second and third spot over in the Atlantic belong to the 2 Florida teams, the Panthers and the Lightning. Now, these 2 teams have gone on amazing runs lately. They've represented the Eastern Conference the last 4 Stanley Cup finals. And they've proven you could definitely use a stud D-man to shut down whoever else. Ekblad, Hedman, they've used more. Sergachev, Montour, just great defensemen. Obviously, they provide results, and they can definitely help make deep runs. And Tanev has proven, hey, he can score in the playoffs too. He has a series-winning goal. Obviously wasn't for Calgary. It was back in Vancouver. But he's proven he can shine in those big moments. But of course, both the Lightning and Panthers, I think they can give. And they definitely would love a guy like Tanev. Obviously, when you make it far into the playoffs, some of your players might demand higher contracts, and you can't afford that, so they go elsewhere, and maybe your decor isn't as good. Get Tanev at the deadline, that's a good resolution. Now, let's look back at this. Toronto, top wild card spot right now, and they have been rumored to land Tanev for what seems like an eternity. Obviously, with Brad Treliving going over there, he actually originally wanted a package that would have included Tanev and Zadorov very early on. But obviously, we shipped Zadorov over to Vancouver. But Toronto, the one thing with them is that they don't have the most draft capital for the next 5 seasons about. So it doesn't look necessarily like they can give tons back, but they would love a Tanev. They've tried in the past. They finally won a series last year, and they picked up Luke Schenn, who is definitely the type of defenseman that Tanev is like. I would argue that Tanev is quite a lot better, but they would love a Tanev. They would just really need the Flames to retain some salary or not demand the biggest returns. So I don't know about Toronto. I think ideally for Leafs fans, they would love a Tanev, but they know how difficult that could be. Now let's look at those other 3 teams I've highlighted there. They're the top 3 teams in the East, not in the playoffs, and they're all from the Metro. Now, first it's the Islanders. They aren't necessarily doing fantastic right now. As you can see, they've got 12 OT losses. They just are not clutch. When it comes to OT, especially 3-on-3, what do you need? You need offense, and it just does not seem as though Tanev is the resolution there. However, when it comes to other parts of the game, maybe Tanev's better at making sure the game doesn't go to overtime or anything like that. But I think come playoff time, especially when overtime is a lot different, he is the guy you need. So if the Islanders are playing in those close games, he is definitely a guy that suits them. Next up, the Penguins. They obviously have some good defensemen, but they're offensive defensemen. Letang and Karlsson hasn't quite worked out the way they wanted. Karlsson's proven in the past that he can be a very, very good playoff performer back when he was on Ottawa, but I don't even know if he'll get a shot at the playoffs this year with Pittsburgh. Do we even think they'll be buyers? Who knows? But I think Tanev would definitely help them there. He could be the stay-at-home while a Karlsson or Letang goes up. And then finally, New Jersey. They are underperforming like crazy right now. Is it necessarily a defensive problem? Kind of. Goaltending has been a huge issue, but obviously a goaltender is your biggest representation of how your defense is playing. So I think they would love to have a Chris Tanev on in their D-corps. Like I said, he can play with anyone. Put him with anyone. Maybe he can mentor Luke Hughes a bit. That would be sensational for the Devils. They could make a push for the playoffs after they were supposed to be pretty much the Metro Crown. They were supposed to have the Metro Crown. Them and the Hurricanes were supposed to be between, but the Devils are underperforming. One last team that's a potential destination that I want to highlight is over in the West. Not exactly ideal for Calgary, but it is, of course, the Vancouver Canucks. Tanev used to play there. He used to play with Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes is having such a sensational season. Definitely the Norris frontrunner. If he could have Tanev back as his partner in crime, as his stay-at-home defenseman, that could help them a lot. Canucks fans would love to have Tanev back. He's obviously a fan favorite, but I think I'm no Canucks fan. I'll just say that here first, but I definitely think Canucks fans, I'm going to speak for them. If Tyler Myers could find his way out of the lineup, they'd like that. Who's a perfect replacement? Chris Tanev, the one-tooth wonder. Those are the best trade destinations, I believe, for the Flames. Obviously, there's plenty more. You can let me know in the comments what you think. I think almost any team that's a contender would love to have him, and he'd be happy to go anywhere. Excuse me, pardon me. Finally, the last thing I want to look at in this video is, of course, the return for Calgary. This is what matters most to us. This is what I should have been talking about this whole time. The Flames. What do we want back? It's interesting. Defensemen like Tanev don't normally yield a first-round pick or necessarily the other team's top prospect or anything like that. That's usually a scoring forward or a scoring D-man pretty much. It's rare to see goalies go, but obviously they would yield a great return as well. But there are some comparisons I want to look at, and this is thanks to Frank Saravelli, wonderful insider. These are some comparable trade returns he has looked at. So most recently with Gio and Tanev, definitely comparable players. So when he was traded from Seattle to Toronto, which once again hasn't necessarily worked out for Toronto, Seattle got a couple second round picks back and a third round pick, but this was still after the Norris hype for Gio. It was 3 years after, but still, he still was worth quite a bit. Obviously, I don't think that's panned out really for Toronto or either team really, to be honest. But you look at the Montreal and Edmonton trade with Kulak. It's funny that all these trades obviously include former Flames as well, or current Flames if you look at the last one. But Kulak obviously went to Edmonton. That has worked out. Montreal, they got a second round pick, a seventh, and Lagesson. Pretty even trade on both sides, I'd say. It's been pretty good for both teams. Lagesson, he's ready for a breakout. And obviously a second round pick is always quite valuable. We'll see how Hudson pans out as well. But the last one there is obviously a trade that involved Calgary themselves when they traded away Chris Russell right after he had broken the record for most blocked shots. Exactly just like Tanev. So the Flames in that occasion got back a second round pick, Jyrki Jokipakka, which is pretty much the best name in the history of mankind. And Brett Pollock, I mean, he never really turned into much, but I don't know. I don't know what the Flames will be asking for. Ideally, I'd assume they'd ask for a first round pick. Is that really in the realm of possibility? It totally depends on how Tanev plays leading up to the deadline and his health. The worst case scenario, obviously, is if Tanev gets injured, then I'm sure we don't trade him. He walks away in the summer and we get nothing back, which would be really, really unfortunate. However, that being said, I hope he keeps playing his game. He's a very, very strong player. That'd be wonderful. So I think if I were to speculate what the Flames are going to get back, I would think it's 2 second-round picks. You look at some other players that the Flames have traded away or traded for in the past, and I look at Travis Hamonic. You know, he went for 3 second-round picks. Did that pan out? Not necessarily. His career has just slightly declined. The Flames didn't necessarily use those picks in the best way. I would say they didn't use their picks in the best way to get Hamonic. Maybe they should have actually drafted people. But, I mean, the way the Flames are, they seem to not want to give their young guys that much of a shot until recently. So who knows what it would have been like if they had been there. But either way, I believe Tanev is going to be on the move. As much as that maybe isn't the best for Flames fans, we'd love to keep him. He's such a fan favorite. I mean, once again, let me just pull it up. Let me get that smile up. The one-tooth wonder. My goodness, if that doesn't just show Flames hockey right there, then I don't know what does. But either way, Tanev, great player, probably on the go. I will keep you updated. If you want to keep getting updated, make sure you subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and of course, go Flames go.